Did you know that you can now create GitHub issues from Copilot Chat in github.com? Let's imagine we're part of the product team behind Copilot Airways, and we're assigning work to the engineering team. We've written a new product requirements document for user reviews on the travel guide. But the team stores these documents in Notion. Let's ask Copilot to create a GitHub issue with that information and a link to the Notion document, so they have traceability of the request. The Copilot coding agents can be assigned issues right from this view in Copilot Chat. Copilot acknowledges the assignment and gets to work by creating a pull request. But how will Copilot be able to access the product team's documentation in Notion? That is where the Model Context Protocol comes in. Aside from native tools like reading files, making code edits, running builds and tests, you can provide Copilot access to external tools using MCP, just like we are doing here with Notion. Here, you can see it used multiple tool calls to gather the information from Notion, which were then incorporated into its workflow. And if we navigate across to GitHub Actions, you can see that the MCP servers and associated tools are configured when Copilot is being set up. Once Copilot has completed its work, we can review the code in the pull request. However, this looks like a fairly sizable set of changes, so I could go back to the pull request and see how Copilot has summarized the changes it has made, allowing me to have the appropriate context going into a review. To learn more about the Copilot coding agent, check out gh.io/copilot/coding-agent.
This is truly the power of building alongside an AI tool that just works. I want to show you how to build a front-end project with GitHub Copilot, and what better way to do that than to build a React client. I can come in here and open up Copilot Chat and ask, tell me about the configuration setup in the React app. It will give me a detailed description of all the code that's already in our directory. I'm going to bring in Christopher to help us build faster.
Fortunately, GitHub Copilot Chat has an ability to allow us to edit multiple files at one time. Whenever you're working with Copilot, you can take a look at what it's done and provide additional suggestions. So you don't need to bundle everything up into one huge prompt.
Wow, we just built a fully functional MVP of the application in a short time with GitHub Copilot.
I want to push this repository to GitHub. But again, remember, in agent mode, before we had the MCP support, this isn't something the agent could go and do. It couldn't create a repository. We have this .vs code folder, and then we have this mcp.json file. This is where we configure the MCP servers that are available. So what tools the agent can go and use for this repository, for this project. So we can see that there's one server. Now there's different types. You can see we can do stdio, server sent events or SSE, and then of that stdio, we can run things like npm packages, pip packages, Docker images as well, or we can just run the local commands and then just passing in that argument then. So I can just hit start on that. And when I open up chat, we can click on this wrench icon for tools, and you can see we've got a number of different tools available here. If we're interacting with GitHub, we of course need to authenticate. So I need to generate a personal access token. Please do not store that in source code. Do not store that path in your code. So we can see that is used then as part of this environment variable for this MCP server. So I've generated a token that has certain permissions and that I'm comfortable giving it, and then it can go and do things based on that token. I could go and say something like, so being super clear there. We want it to be true, private, yeah, and auto init false. Looks good. And so when we look at this, we can start seeing all of the different things that it can go and do. So it can push multiple files to a GitHub repo in a single commit. I'm going to go and go to strategy app, add that, my terminal. And I could have used the agent to go and push up the files for me if I wanted as well. But now when we refresh, we should see, there we go. We've got our repository.
Hey everyone, welcome to Open Source Friday, the show where we talk to maintainers about the apps that they're maintaining. I'm Kadesha, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. So today I have a really special guest. Her name is Neha, and she is one of the core maintainers of Keploy, which deals with automated testing with AI for developers. So excited for that conversation. But first, I want to make sure that you know about an awesome competition type of summer of code that we're having here at GitHub. So let me just share my screen here. So this is for the love of code. So how many of you have so many domains that's just sitting in the cart or like sitting in the background not being used? So if you have a domain, if you have ever wanted to build something, now is the time, because coding is more than just maintaining enterprise applications. Am I right? Coding can be for fun. So we have something called For the Love of Code, which is a summer hackathon for joyful, ridiculous, and wildly creative projects. There are about 6 categories, and it's running from July 16th to September 22nd. So you have until September 22nd to kind of publish your application. Be sure to go to this blog post to learn more about it. Let me pull up that link for you so you can go ahead and look for it. There we go. So be sure to go to this blog post to learn more about our summer hackathon that's going on, where you could win 12 months of Copilot Pro Plus for free. You know what I mean? So like if you're one of the winners in one of the categories, that's something that you could win. Plus, I think there are like other prizes. It's all laid out in the blog post for you. So now let's get into the stream. I'm going to bring up Neha here so she can be with me. Hi.
Hi, Kibisha. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Pretty excited to be here.
Yes, excited to have you. Welcome to the stream. So I
Thank
guess
you.
let's jump right into it, because one thing about Open Source Friday, the time just boop, goes. So,
Of course.
so tell us, who is Neha and what do you do?
Okay. So you rightly mentioned I'm one of the maintainers of Keploy. You know, the idea is to bring AI generated test cases that actually works, that executes, and especially for backend, because I see a lot of people generating test cases and building tools for frontend. We need something for backend as well. So yeah.
Hmm.
And before Keploy, I was into product and engineering at different teams back in India, and different startups and enterprises. Saw this problem myself, and then we started this project. I am a co-founder.
Nice. I love that story. So tell me more about Keploy, right? Let's go right into Keploy. So like what is Keploy and how did you even start building it? How did the idea come about?
Oh, okay. I mean, we started building it out of frustration, to be honest. So I'll tell you more about Keploy first. It's like the agentic AI platform that's based out of eBPF to intercept network calls or API calls coming to any server and make test cases out of it. It's like converting your traffic, API traffic, to test cases and data mocks. So that's what Keploy started as, and it's open source. So we would love to see some community people from here there, and the idea is to validate the test cases that we generate with AI, and give users a good amount of coverage without spending a lot of effort on writing the test cases, things like that. Because when I was working at those companies, uh, I saw brilliant developers spending like 30%, 50% of their time just to fix the test cases or
Yes.
write the test cases. I'm like, and I myself was very frustrated because I had to write
Yes.
as well,
Same.
especially in unit tests. And the pipeline would not pass if you don't have like 80% gating. And everybody's wondering like, who can help me here? So yeah,
Exactly.
it was just pretty much out of frustration. And we chose to build this open source because I had been an open source contributor. I learned a lot from open source contributions, just like a summer of code project, like you mentioned. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
on. And uh, yeah, I understand like that community really, that feedback helps develop a platform much faster and, get it adopted much wider. So yeah.
Nice.
I
I love
do
that.
that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So just you experience the pain of tests not be not passing, and then the pipeline breaking, and then you can't get your push in and all that jazz. I do remember that pain as well. So it's nice that you build something that solves that problem. I'm so excited
Thank
to
you.
see it. But one thing I want to know is, how is Keploy different from traditional testing tools or like record playback tools?
Okay. So, I tried using record and playback tools when I was seeing that frustration. But the issue was, even if you record the API request and response, your database change, the state changes, and you need to prepare mocks, and you need to ensure all of your rest of the test environment is in the same state, which becomes a pain already.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to write spinning up databases, seeding the databases, and things like that. Uh, it was a pretty mess, and things
Yes.
became flaky. So we were like, we tried a lot of tools. There was nothing. Trust me, I wouldn't have built this if I would have found a solution for that back then. Yeah. And then we were like, hey, how about we record the database call as well while we're doing the recording? How about we record a external service as well? That's how it just born up.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah,
So let's see it. Let's see it. Let's have a look at how Kiploy works.
sure. Would love to. In fact, I want to test an application live on internet today. So, is there any suggestion from you? Which platform you would you would like me to test? Or how about GitHub?
Oh, you could just test any app.
Okay. I have prepared something for GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
If that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't see your screen share anymore. Can you reshare
Oh,
your screen for me? There we go.
okay, perfect. So, to let's say if I were to record API test cases for GitHub today, as a developer, what I would do, um, so I'll just open github.com and, and record some calls. I'll reset it and I'll record. Yep. So let's say I go to some organization. I'm not opening Keploy because I don't want the AI to make so many AI calls to Keploy.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened like 3, 4 pages and all the API calls got recorded. Now what I can do, I can stop recording, copy these interactions that my browser did, and I'm just going to, use these curls as part of the input. So, you know, I just made some curl calls, and previous to this call, I just fetched the Open API schema of GitHub from GitHub
Mm-hmm.
documentation and GitHub
Wow.
repository. And the test URL is basically api.github.com. That's it. So I have these 3 things and I generate test cases. And AI would start generating test cases for me now. So you see, I just
Wow.
recorded a couple of interactions from GitHub and gave it the OpenAPI spec and just, started generating test cases. It may take a little bit of time, but
Mm-hmm.
what it is doing is it is like it's reading the schema that I gave of GitHub and trying to make workflows, API workflows out of it that would not act flaky, like creating an object, then doing some operations to it, and then deleting the object, things like that. So we'll be
Wow.
generating like live GitHub test cases right now, the API
And
test
what
cases.
And what type of test is it generating? Is it just unit integration, end to end, or all of it?
It's majorly end-to-end, API
Wow.
and end-to-end. And then you can use that to, for performance test as well. I think I'm just going to refresh it and go to test suite. So it has so far it has generated 18 test cases, like test suites. So this one, for example, create a repository, and then I want to check if this API call is getting me 201
Mhm.
as expected status code. Then I create an issue. This is an API call. Then get an issue. Then clean up the repository. So this is a
Wow.
complete flow. So it generated that, and there are like 18 flows like this. Create an issue with title and body, different. Okay. So yeah, uh, it created a lot of edge cases for this GitHub API. And now if I want to run these test cases whenever I have a new release, I don't have to do anything. I just have to run these test cases um, on the new URL. That's it. And it would show
It's
me,
incredible.
what worked, what didn't. So yeah.
That's incredible. It kind of reminds me of like a GitHub action, sort of. You just click the
Uh-huh.
button and yeah, once you set it up, it just runs.
In
So,
fact, sorry.
no, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
So we've integrated it with GitHub Actions as well. So, you
Hmm.
just add that as part of your GitHub action. You can run these test cases in your pipeline itself. So yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really good. That's really good. So how do you configure this in your repository?
Oh, it's pretty simple. You just add this action as part of your workflow file in GitHub repository. So that's pretty simple. And
I guess it's so
uh,
simple, my brain just kind of
Uh, yeah, there are
wow.
developers for I don't want. It's okay that AI is generating cases for me, but I want to record my flow and do everything my own. For those techies, with something like I'll take another application example. So let's say you want to record some test cases. So this is one test set, but you want to record some test cases using Keploy for your application. So what I'm going to do, generally when you want to run your application locally, you
Hmm.
just run your jar file. That's it, and it starts executing. And if you want
Hmm.
to record with Keploy, you just you know wrap your jar file with Kepler record. So we do like eBPF based interception and start converting them to test cases, anything. So you see this folder comes here. Now anything that I'm going to do to my application is getting recorded along with its mock. So for example, do you have a pet, Kidisha?
No, I don't.
Okay. Let's say, I would love to have a lion as a pet someday, and then a tiger as a pet someday. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I did some API calls here. All of them got recorded. So I did post a lion. So all of that is getting recorded and the response to it, and also the mock to it. So this application is using Postgres. So if I'm going to search for a lion or a tiger, all those fields are part of this. So I don't need to set up my database when I want to run these test cases. Kepler is going to mock it for
Wow.
yeah, and I can just yeah. So
Kipling actually solved the testing headache. That's incredible.
I mean, if it didn't, I wouldn't be here. I can
That's
stop my
incredible.
database. I can stop my database, and I can run these test cases like without database as well.
Yeah.
So and the how we test Kepler is by using Keploy itself. So we
Right.
use Keploy to test Keploy, and it doesn't work. It means that something is not right.
Yeah. So one question I saw last evening when I scheduled the stream was someone says Keploy sounds super useful. I've struggled with API testing before, especially mocking real world scenarios. So they're wondering how it handles complex auth flows.
Oh, well, pretty easy. So once these test cases are recorded, a Keploy is since Keploy is marking them, you can record as big of a payload as you want. If you want to, interchain your APIs, like response of one API going to the request of the another one, that's possible too. So yeah, it's pretty easy.
Wow. Just like that.
You see, I made a few calls, just a couple of bets, and I had one more existing test. Like there's 7% coverage that we got
Mhm.
just by making a couple of calls. So
Incredible.
the idea here is that we quickly get to a good coverage, and my test cases don't break just because my databases break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. And does Keploy support all languages, or it's not? It's like language agnostic.
Okay, so if you want to generate using AI, so you know we use the underlying LLMs. Developers can choose to use their own LLM. Like for example, if somebody wants to use OpenAI or anything, they can use that and for any language. But if you wanna what matters to us is what kind of databases or protocols you're using. So currently it's majorly open source with MongoDB, Postgres, MySQL, like popular databases. If it's something private, we don't currently support yet.
Got you. So it's less about languages and more about databases.
Yeah.
Cool. And does
Yeah.
it integrate with any other CI/CD workflows? As you said earlier, that you can
Mhm.
easily add it to GitHub Actions, but does it work with
Yeah.
others as well?
Yep. You can integrate anywhere, wherever you can just download a binary and plug in eBPF hooks. GitHub Actions are the best because, they're we're able to plug in the eBPF hooks to capture and replay network calls. Some of the other CI/CD platforms that I know already. People are using it on our GitLab and
Mhm.
Bitbucket, so they're working there as well.
Got you. And I'm curious to know how Keploy is capturing the real-time API traffic and how it's storing it. How does it do that?
Oh, so just like we did here. So for example, I start recording. Now,
Yeah.
everything that's coming to the network tab, like all the API calls on this page, everything is getting recorded. So if I create a
Mhm.
repository, let's say GitHub, and it's a public repository. So now it'll be an API call for creation
Mhm.
that would be recorded. So if I stop recording and I see this data, let me see it here. Yep. So I did a post call for the repository that it recorded. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
So
it's like,
let me go
yeah.
back to the beginning. So I sign up for Keploy. The first thing I do, or the first thing I'm prompted to do, is to install the Chrome extension.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the Chrome extension is installed, Keploy is going to like see what's happening behind the scenes of your application. And then it uses all those events to automatically generate like
Yeah,
the
it
mock
feeds
data and
that
the
to the
text.
AI. Yeah,
Got
and
you.
then
That's a pretty
yeah.
smart configuration. I love that.
Thank you. I mean, we definitely look for feedback. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
good.
the
So,
idea is.
go ahead.
Mhm. The idea is that you don't have to worry about writing so many edge cases. As a developer,
Mm-hmm.
I hated listing so many edge cases, and I want to save all of that time for developers today.
Right. I love it. I'm curious how you built Keploy. What is the tech stack?
Oh, so it's built in Golang, and to um, intercept the network calls, we're using eBPF, the extended Berkeley packet filters, so that we can just intercept the network traffic at the kernel layer. And we don't have to do any code integration because, a lot of developers would hesitate integrating code bases or SDKs. They would not get permission from their organization. So yeah,
Mhm.
keeping that in mind, we developed it using eBPF and to keep it fast in Golang.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Pretty tight,
thank you.
pretty like basic, yeah. And so what about once APIs evolve over time or like the schema changes, how does Keploy handle that? I guess it just monitors it, then it just updates it then.
Yeah, and if some you're getting it right, so that's very cool. It's like when you're up with a new API, it will already monitor and generate the test case for it. And if, let's say, something is breaking and my schema changed, so let's say Keploy highlighted that something is breaking, you can just do fix with AI, and
Mhm.
it will self-heal the test case itself.
Cool. So can you walk me through
Yeah.
the platform? There's so many buttons. Let me see what's going on here.
Okay, so it's like sharing the test suite with my colleagues. If there is it's the report is there and something is failing, to add more resources to run. So, for example, if I want to give a different GitHub
Mm,
back token when I'm running it, I want to give it a different endpoint that I want to run test cases on. I want to, so there's a dashboard to see and visualize which all endpoints have I covered from the schema that I have. So, it gives you a view of, okay,
yeah.
what all is covered, like the edge cases that I've covered, and what needs to be covered more, things like that. So yeah, it's pretty simple, and it's built in keeping that in mind that I should be able to get up and running within a few minutes just by installing, let's say, Chrome extension and monitoring the traffic.
Yeah. I think that's such a smart way to do it. Like I don't have to go in and do any configurations in my actual repository. It
Application,
just
yeah.
works. It just works automatically. It just works.
And
So like
yeah.
I'm curious about the building process. So what do you think was the most challenging part about building Keploy?
Oh, okay. Is it okay if I show you a slide or like an architecture
Oh
diagram for
yeah, of
that?
course, yeah.
Okay, just a sec. So, mhm, I have this here. Mhm. So I have it here. Um, so how Keploy works, just like we discussed, it will interact and see all the network interactions. Now, to map all the API requests to the dependencies of your application, like what was the database query for that API call, which all dependencies it talked to, without injecting any SDK was very difficult. So we had to
Yeah,
write protocol parsers, and there was nothing existing. It was so difficult initially. We were like
wow.
about to give up. That okay, how do we parse all these database protocols? How do we really intercept them and mock them when the application is trying to talk to database again? So it was like building a proxy as well as the parsers for the database.
Wow.
Um, that was the most difficult part and time taking part, and we got a lot of help from the community because um, users who wanted to make this work for them, they gave
Mm-hmm.
us, okay, hey, this is failing. Initially there were a lot of failing points. I would say today as well there are a lot of points where it would not work for new databases, and we have to experiment a lot on each of the use case and
Yeah.
protocol. So yeah, the building this part was the toughest one, but then like we are the most proud people. Like uh, we feel like, hey, we've written world's first parsers for databases. So yes, we did it. It seemed a lot tougher back then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a hard technical challenge for sure. So I'm happy that you and your team just stayed the course, and even the community chimed in to make sure that
Thank you.
it was
Yeah.
accomplished, because this is a really big win for developers, especially now in the AI era where like so many people are building applications. Having something
Mhm.
like this to make sure that everything works the way you think it works is
Mhm.
absolutely incredible.
Of course, yeah, thanks. And there are a lot of things that we discuss with community around. Okay, how do we make a platform over it? Like we can use it for performance testing, we can use it for chaos testing. Let's turn off some database and see how
Mhm.
the application will behave. Let's see how the application would respond, because it's like you're keeping the application in isolation when you're testing. So yeah, it really, like, what matters to me is my application the most.
Mhm.
So yeah, um, like knowing the performance and and seeing how it would panic if it's not able to talk to the database is interesting, and then handling those edge cases and errors.
Mhm.
So there are so many use cases that we get from the community, and we're so excited about community building over it. um, yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm not seeing many questions from the chat. Let me um let me just check LinkedIn really quickly. But do you accept open source? Well, you do. Are there any like pressing issues that you would like some help with for the project?
For sure. I mean, there are a lot of, I think, over 100 issues right now on the
Oh
repository.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, 179 to be precise. And there are so many things that we can work on. We can work on adding new databases, new language frameworks, like reporting coverage libraries.
Mm-hmm.
There are gRPC things. So in the last month, there was a contributor who developed the gRPC support individually,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really excited to see that working. So yeah, uh, there are so many things, and since programming language is not a restriction, um, I do get a lot of developers on the repository who wants to learn Golang, for example, and we create like good first issues for them as well. So
Mm-hmm.
feel free to pick. For people who are from the non-coding background, we do accept contributions from them as well. For example, in terms of some blogs or tutorials, that we give shout out of. So would love to take contributions from the community. The more, the better for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Please go contribute to Keploy. It's a great project. And also please go use it. Like go use it to test your APIs. It's pretty seamless, especially if you're using one of the open source databases. It will work really well with it.
Thank you. Thanks for the shout out, Kadisha.
So Ravi asks if there are any limits on programming languages supported, but from what I understand, it's less about the programming language and more about the database.
Yes, you're perfectly right.
Yeah. Yeah, so it supports multiple programming languages, but it's more about the database that you're using. Like if you're using a private database, it probably won't work. Is that
Hmm.
something that's on the roadmap or no?
Yeah, I mean, we have to parse those proprietary
Yeah,
database protocols, which is kind of, I would not say impossible now, which is kind of
yeah.
difficult, but yeah, it's possible.
So right now, Keploy works with Postgres. Does it work with Supabase,
Yeah, and
MySQL,
MySQL,
uh-huh,
yeah, and MongoDB,
MongoDB?
yeah. So we developed support for Oracle database as well, which was proprietary, but yeah, we did. So
Yeah,
developing the support for that is not impossible. Yeah,
it's
it's
just
not
gonna
there
take a
yet.
lot of yeah, it's gonna take a lot of work. What about I guess Firebase is private, right? So maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Currently, we do not have Firebase as a supported database. May
Yeah.
have majority of the databases are based on SQL, NoSQL, like open
Mhm.
source databases, and it usually works for the majority of developers. And we're like, we need more contributors to
Yeah.
handle the existing issues and keep the project running.
Keep the project running, please. And I'm curious, how does Keploy handle dynamic or non-deterministic values in, like UUIDs or timestamps? How does it handle
Hmm.
those?
Oh, wow. Good question. So, I had a test case here. Yep. So, for example, date or timestamp,
Hmm.
these kind of things would always change, and you would not want to match them with the new response. So, we add that as noise if we detect that
Ah,
already. It would not compare that. It's like a noisy field that you don't want to compare in the actual and the expected response. And if you want to add more to it, of course, and then there are some fields that you want to ignore completely. You can add a wildcard entry. So
mhm.
yeah, yep,
Awesome.
it's like a noisy field for deploy.
Noise is a great way to categorize it.
Yeah,
That's really good. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a wrap. I mean, this is a really good project. Thank you so much for coming on and showing us your project. So, what's one? No, no, no. I already asked you that one. I mean, yeah. So the best way for developers to get started with Keploy is to install the extension, log in, and connect it to your repository and go forth and test. So, I
it's pretty
mean,
simple, isn't
it's
it?
it's honestly as simple as that. It's one of the reasons I love when developers build tools because we understand what it feels like to be a developer and to solve the pain that
Exactly.
we're experiencing.
Exactly. Yes.
Because like
That's true.
one thing I know for sure is we hate spending time on setup. Uh,
Exactly. I mean, why do I need to maintain something? Why do I need to set up something for every time, like every day, just to
exactly.
test it? Yeah.
Exactly. I completely agree. But this has been Open Source Friday. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for coming on, Neha, and talking
Thank you
about
so much.
Keploy. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me here. Love
Of
sharing
course.
this.
Have
Sure. Have a lovely day ahead.
a lovely day.
Open source developers, this is your moment. Applications are open for the open source zone at GitHub Universe. This is your chance to demo your project, connect with contributors, and grow your impact, all with GitHub support. So whether you're a solo maintainer or part of a well-funded project, this space is going to put your work in front of thousands of developers. Apply now by submitting your project by July 31st. You can head on over to gh.io/open-source-zone to apply.